Hey, we're wrapping up this series called Business of Success, and every week in this series, we've found an expert in the field of business, and we've asked them to come give us 5 minutes of their wisdom, and so that we can hit tomorrow morning, we can hit Monday morning with just some new tools on our belt. And I'm really excited to get to introduce a woman from our community. She's been a part of our community for 3 or 4 years. She is a recent, what do you call it when you, I'm totally blanking on the word.
Retiree.
Retiree, thank you. Recent retiree exec from P&G, and she is an expert in leadership. Would you please put your hands together for Beverly Grant?
So, leadership. It's that magical word that everyone wants associated with his or her name. As I look back to when I first started my career, for me as a young leader, it became fairly simple figuring out what I wanted to stand for within the organization. 3 things: help people, have fun, and not screw up. As my career evolved, and I reached a point where I was managing over $8 billion in sales, a budget of $120 million, and hundreds of people, my description of my leadership style became a lot more wordy and corporate appropriate. However, my purpose and the way I went about pursuing my leadership style remained fairly simple and the same. Energize and enable folks to get things done, have fun with a capital F, and don't mess up in the process. Now, along the way, I read most of the leadership books and articles, and also learned a lot of the buzzwords. I did those things because as leaders, most of us want to be known for something. We want to stand out. As I reflect back over my career as a leader, there were 2 things that I now know were the most powerful leadership traits of the 10 I finally adopted. The first was active listening, and the second, consistency. First, active listening. To be an active listener requires listening to understand and not to respond. Why this one? I discovered that active listening builds both understanding of the opportunity being discussed and the person you're discussing the opportunity with. Additionally, active listening builds empathy. Empathy builds stronger relationships, and stronger relationships inspire trust. A quick example of that. I set specific goals with my leadership team to really get to know each member, their spouse, and their family. I had an employee that was on their 2nd tour of duty in my organization. I never quite figured out why they called it a tour of duty, but they were having a personal crisis. Now, as I looked back, if I had not actively listened to the spouse and heard their family stories, I would have not been in a place to quickly identify that something was going on, because it was the spouse that actually invited me into the family to help solve the crisis, not the employee. The second is consistency is critical to success. Why even have something so obvious on a short list of leadership traits? I cannot count the number of people I've known over the years who were almost always unintentionally inconsistent in their approaches to leadership. Inconsistency breeds confusion and undermines confidence in the organization. Consistency, on the other hand, from my experience, demonstrates integrity, and integrity builds trust. A quick example. Whenever I onboarded with a new boss, I always wanted to share my story and my family's story so that they would get to know me, and I would ask them to do the same thing. Why do something? Those shared experiences, understanding what drove each other, put us in a position so that if anything inconsistent came up, we could quickly discuss it, have a candid conversation, and work out some amenable solutions. I simply adopted this, Matthew 5:37. Simply let your yes be yes, and your no, no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. So as I wrap this up, I have 2 questions that I would like for you to suggest that you ponder as you develop, refine, or review your leadership style. How can I actively listen and be in the moment with the person who is right in front of me? And then second, am I consistent in my approach to leadership? Are my teammates experiencing me in the way I intend for them to see and experience me? I found that it's easiest to be an active listener and consistent in your approach when things are going fairly well and the organization is aligned. However, it's a lot tougher, but no less important, and I actually think it's more important, to be an active listener and consistent in your approach in the face of challenges, uncertainty, and confusion. Was I a perfect leader or the greatest leader? Absolutely not. However, I found that having these guiding principles to keep me others focused sure did help out a lot.